Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Ozzy here. Welcome to the More Than a Pretty Face podcast. Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Ozzy. I'm back today with a very special guest, a fellow dermatologist who wasn't always sure he wanted to be a doctor, but growing up, education and hard work were a big part of his childhood and culture. And in the past 2 years, he's racked up 16 million followers on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I would say he's probably a global force when it comes to skinfluencing. He's definitely very passionate about educating his audience, and he has an incredible talent to do it well. He's pretty entertaining. He loves the pimple pops, and I'm so excited to catch up with him today. He's back on the More Than a Pretty Face podcast. So welcome, Dr. Shah. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back on, Dr. Ozzy. It feels like forever ago since we last did this podcast. So many things have happened. So I'm glad that we're catching up.
I know. It's been a whirlwind, I'm sure, for you. You have a new title to your name.
Yeah,
Right?
well, last time I was on the podcast and when I first started social media, I was still in my residency. I've since graduated and taken boards. And so new degree, new titles, but at the end of the day, same person that makes content. And my views haven't changed much on skincare since.
So, how are the boards? You just recently took them? Were
Yeah, I
they?
mean, they are representative of what we study during residency, not very representative often of what we see clinically on a day-to-day basis, but it's sort of a rite of passage. We all have to go through that same process. And I do think it's important, some of the minutia that we learn and are tested on, because you may be the only person between them of a patient seeing you and that diagnosis, right? So they come to you, you're the expert. And if you don't know these minutiae, these rare diseases, then no one else will. So, I think it's really important that we do learn these things, even if they are sort of rare and less common.
I agree. And, it allows you to understand the physiology of the skin, the structure of the skin so much better when you learn if one thing is left out of it, what can happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, of course, I went through the process of studying because before, a lot of people see me on social media, but I was working in clinic during residency for like 60 hours a week and studying and then making content essentially full time on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and also balancing a long distance relationship. So there were so many different things that I was doing at the same time. And so now that I'm done with residency, it does free up a little bit of time that was sidelined to my training.
You're always, you show up online and you're so happy, so entertaining, so informative. You would never think that all this stuff is going on in your life. So tell us about what you're up to since last time we talked. You were, it was COVID and it was you were a resident. So what are some of your new ventures?
So many things. I feel like time management has become my biggest problem. This may have been my problem last time as well, but still always a big problem for me. So obviously graduated. I joined a practice as a partner. I joined a practice in Mooresville, North Carolina, and I'm seeing patients, surgical patients, cosmetic, general dermatology, everything. I joined with another partner. His name's Dr. Aldaba. He's a Mohs surgeon. And he's just an amazing doctor and operator. So he was running the practice before I got there, joined him as a partner. And so I'll be seeing patients there clinically. And we're hoping to grow the practice, to make dermatology more accessible to everybody. We accept all insurances, including Medicaid. And so we're really just trying to make dermatology more accessible, like what I do on my social media platform. So graduated, started a practice, um, you know, expanded my social media. I've the TikTok, Instagram, YouTube continue to grow. I leaned more into YouTube since I think the last time that we talked. But I love all of it. I love just reaching people and educating people, and more to come that is on the back burner right now that is not public yet, but it's going to be exciting when I announce some of those things.
Oh, I'm so excited. I saw that you had a contest to pick out a name for your practice, right? And so what happened with that? Who won? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the thing is that a lot of my success over the last couple years is due to the people that support me on social media, and I actually read a lot of comments and take that feedback to create content. And so they participated already so much in that process for me that I figured I could just lean on people to help name the practice. We wanted to rebrand so that we could make the practice, um, I guess we wanted to turn it more into a brand than it was, right? It felt more like just a local entity, the way that it was branded when I was joining. And so we wanted to make it something that we could expand on and make it something that really resonated with what we believe in and what we wanted to grow into. So I leaned on the audience to basically come up with names for the practice, and we got like 9,000 votes on it. It was
Whoa,
actually
that's
pretty
crazy.
tight. It was actually a pretty
Wow.
tight race, which I didn't think it would be as tight as it was, but it ended up winning was Fora Dermatology, FORA. And so we'll be rebranding into Fora Dermatology. So Fora basically is like a communal, it's basically a place where people go to gather and share ideas. So by definition, it's a good name for the practice, but also I like that it could be like fora, which is like for all people, for everyone,
Oh,
for
I
all
love that.
genders. So the
Yes.
idea is that like it's for everyone, all skin tones, like, and we're really going to try to embrace that culture of just welcoming everybody wherever they are, and then trying to bring them to a better place with their skin. And so that's the idea behind it. We'll announce it. So this is actually the first announcement that we're going with for dermatology, but that's the one that
All
we're going
right.
with. So I'm going to bring the audience along for the branding process as well.
I love how you engage and you've really created a community of, they're not just followers, but you've really created and established a community for people. And I love how inclusive you are and how you make things so accessible to such a broad range of people. And we've never really seen that before, especially with healthcare, the way it's going. You're sort of at the forefront of making that change and swinging the pendulum back to making it available to so many people, especially dermatology. It's so hard to see a dermatologist. I mean, I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but on the West Coast, it's really difficult.
Yeah, I think a lot of dermatologists in the United States are booked out for months. In other countries, it's a bigger problem actually. So
Oh,
about half of my audience, maybe 40% of my audience is global. And if
wow.
you talk to my followers in the UK, Canada is not as much, but definitely the UK. I mean, you can't see a dermatologist for over a year if you can see a dermatologist at all. So
Wow.
some of this information that people are getting through our videos are not meant, both of us are not really meant to like it be an exchange for seeing a dermatologist. Obviously, we can offer a lot more if you see us in person, but it's often used to supplement that information. So like if your visit is short and like they didn't explain to you how to apply a retinoid because you just don't have they didn't have time during the visit, or you didn't ask, or they forgot to mention it, then you can go to these videos to supplement that education. Or for the people that don't have access to a dermatologist, at least you can get on a good routine for acne that's going to solve like 30-40% of the acne problems that we see in our office. And so I think the information is super important, making it accessible to people. And I think it should be in all specialties, right? Because there's so many common questions that we can answer as authority figures. Because the bad thing about that, before you and I got on social media and before a lot of doctors were on social media, is that the information out there was bad information that people
Right.
were sharing, or it wasn't well vetted information. Even if the people that were producing the information had good intentions, it obviously wasn't well researched information. And so being able to provide people with good information, and not just like the average person who is seeking this information, like how do you treat acne, but like also for other influencers to lean on our content to make their content. So I think it's really important for us to be on the platforms and continuing to make content that's accurate and evidence-based.
I love it. I love it. So where do you draw your inspiration from when you're creating content? Is there a goal that you always think of, when you're going to shoot a video or when you're going to come up with new content to create?
Yeah, so I think I lean on a lot of the comments that people have. People tag me in a lot of stuff on TikTok, right? So now that, I have like 16.3 million people on
Crazy.
TikTok that are constantly tagging me and things. So when something's going viral, often misinformation or a juicy pimple pop or a cyst, or anything that people see that are crazy that are related to the skin, I'm often getting tagged in those videos. And so a lot of the inspiration just comes from tags, me scrolling my own feed, or what I'm seeing in clinics. So if I see a particular concern in clinic, often I know that the general public probably has those same questions, and then I can make a video about them.
Yeah, I think we share that same inspo because if you see something in the office, maybe somebody out there in the audience has a similar, concern or a similar question. Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Ozzy. August is finally here and the sun is still shining strong. For our podcast listeners only, we are offering 20% off our SPF essentials. Shop our best sellers like Hydratint BB SPF 44, Sunkissed and UV Clear SPF 50 powder, and Pout Plump 30 with our limited time promo. Take 20% off at checkout on AziMDSkincare.com with code August 20. I love to see your skin transformation. So tag me in your stories and post on Instagram at Skin by Dr. Ozzy and show me your skin transformation. So what is it like seeing patients? Have you started seeing patients now, so many people know you. Do people find you and come in? Like what's it like?
There are definitely people that seek me out from social media. We do try to limit it still to people that are local, just because I think like if you have acne or you need some type of treatment, it's better if you're coming from within like a 2 hour radius for follow-up. I think for some of the cosmetic procedures, you can do like a long distance, like you can fly in, and a lot of people ask for virtual from like the UK and like I said, where healthcare is less accessible for people. But I think a majority of people that come into the office are just people that, have a particular skin issue and they want it solved. And so even if they seek me out, it's usually a very legitimate medical concern, often like not cosmetic. Like for example, I get like a lot of patients that come in because they've seen my content on hidradenitis suppurativa and they sought me out because they wanted treatment for that. So they come in, they're often very respectful. They have legitimate medical concerns and we're able to help them, which is the best part. So a lot of times like the awareness is what drives people into the office. And so what I really value is that people trust me from the content that I make. So like the thing that's the most rewarding for me is knowing that these people sought me out because they trusted me for my content. And so hopefully I can provide them a good experience.
Yeah, I love that. So, here you are. Did you ever think that you would be so popular online and doing all these amazing things that you're doing, including, raising awareness about melanoma or educating, your audience? What did you ever think you would find yourself here? Is this something you
No, I mean, I started on TikTok, which
like? Were you entertaining when you were, growing up, when you were in college? Did you do any sort of this media stuff? Is this
no, not at all. I mean, not at all. I wasn't, in any like the acting classes or debate club or anything like that. So not really in any like public speaking
You didn't
positions
go to
by any means.
influencer school or
No,
I'm
no.
just kidding.
I never, I guess, wanted to be in this position, essentially. I'm grateful that I am in this position, but I think, TikTok was a lot of fun for me. Like I always say, like I'm a big TikTok consumer myself. So like I love watching videos and I love the creative aspect of creating a video that resonates with people. So that's like my metric, is that I know that if a video is doing well, that means that somehow I've struck a chord with somebody and it's resonated with them as a human being. And so I like that creative piece. To me, like to be able to connect with an audience is really gratifying. But I had no idea, like my content just started going viral on TikTok. And I realized, at least even the people around me had realized, like my program director, where I was training for residency, he told me you can reach, 5 million, 10 million people in a 20-second video, and you could never reach that many people by seeing patients in clinic on a day-to-day basis. And so what you're doing is super valuable. Continue to be honest and ethical, and I think it will take you far. And so I basically just doubled down and kept creating content, and the platform continued to grow, and I've stuck to what my morals and ethical principles have been, and I think my audience knows that. And so it's continued to grow. But I never expected it to be that way. But now that it is, I realize that, it's a blessing to be in this position, but it's also like a big responsibility to continue to like, create content that's accurate.
Yeah, it is a big responsibility. There's a lot of pressure on you. Even, if you say something and you say it with the best of intentions or the best of heart, somebody may take that and completely misunderstand it. So what is the hardest thing about being so influential? Uh, what are some drawbacks? Because a lot of people look up to you. Everybody is waiting to hear what you have to say and what you're going to do and so forth. And how do
You
you
know,
handle that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm handling it. I think that I'm much more thoughtful about what I post, right? Because, whether it's good or bad, right? Like I used to post a lot of negative things, like in the sense that I would say like, oh, this product is trash, like, because I came from like, and I think people appreciate that like frank honesty, but at the same time, like there's repercussions for those words, right? Like it'll affect the brand, it'll affect the people that work at the brand, it'll affect the PR company that is pushing these products out to people. And so I think there's a big ripple when you have a larger platform, and so you have to be thoughtful about what you say and what you do. Sometimes you're going to be wrong about things. Sometimes you're going to offend people. I think that you need to decide like whether the education piece outweighs who you're offending, right? And sometimes like I delete videos where I feel like the message was missed, or like it could be misinterpreted or offended more people in a way that I didn't mean to offend them. So I think that there's always a place for like humility where you can look back and say like what I did in this video or what I said in this video didn't land the way that I wanted it to land, and being able to be like introspective in a way where you can look back and say like, hey, this wasn't what I intended, and take that video down. Like, I think you need to put your ego aside, and whether the video is viral or not, I think that you need to know like what is the impact you're having on people. And so I think always like being thoughtful of what you do. I think like in public now, like I'm like a big like sweatpants person. Like my standard, a lot of people see me in scrubs, but like if I could every day, like my thing would be like wear wet sweatpants and I wear like a lot of robes. But the thing is, like, people recognize me, so like I have to be a little bit more thoughtful now of like how I look when I go out. So yeah, so just a couple things have changed, but overall, my life's pretty much the same.
So you have a lot of young people that obviously look up to you, are inspired by you. If you could give yourself a piece of advice, 10 years ago, what would that be? What would you say to yourself, 10 years, 15 years ago when you were
Yeah,
starting out?
I think you have yeah. So one of the most important things to me is like the impact I have on younger generations and inspiring other people to become dermatologists or create content on social media. You and I have unfamiliar names, let's put it that
That's
way.
true.
And growing up as a Manib Shah and looking the way that I do and having some of the customs that I had and some of the clothes that I wore growing up, I didn't have necessarily a lot of role models in my immediate community to look up to. And so hopefully what we're doing on social media serves as an example for people in communities that maybe they don't have good role models around them, and they can say, oh, like I can aspire to be this. And so being a role model, I think, is super important. And I think that goes into a lot of the content that I make, that I try not to be like offensive or vulgar or, a misrepresentation of like my culture, my community. So that's number one. I
Because
think
you have a lot of
number
cultures that are, that are watching you. You're such an international group of people, and something in one culture can be completely misunderstood in another culture. So, it can make it really challenging.
That's a good point. I think as far as what I would tell myself is, I guess, be patient. And like, I think everything works out if you work hard and you kind of keep your head down and you have good, like, if you're honest and ethical, I think those things really pay off in the end. So, I think I wasn't sure in life, like where things would go. I was very like, oh, I have to have this like very specific plan and to achieve it. And then like, I'm going through the stages of like, like going to med school is a very cookie cutter, honestly.
Mhm.
Like you do your 4 years of undergrad, and during your 4 years of undergrad, you have to take your pre-med requirements, and then you have to take the MCAT. And then if you get a certain metrics on those, you'll
Mhm.
probably get into med school. And then once you get into med school, you have to get certain scores on your boards to get into the specialty that you want. And then once you do that, then you can get into the specialty you want, and you train there for 4 years, and then you become a dermatologist. And so it's very like, oh, if you do this, 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 and this, and you cross
That's
these
right.
hurdles, you get there. And then social media for me kind of came out of nowhere, and it was like unexpected, and it definitely diverted me from my path like that I had seen for myself in life. And I think I saw the opportunity and I seized it. So I think like one advice I would say is, if you find opportunity somewhere and you think that it's somewhere that could take you to the next level, or it's something that you feel passionate about or inspired by, that like you really have to go that route, even if it's an unfamiliar, uncharted territory that hasn't been walked before by people that you've seen in the past. So sitting down and doing that, I think, is really important. And there's something else I learned. This is kind of like
Mhm.
been top of mind for me, is like as I meet people in other industries, which which I think through medical training, we meet like a lot of other doctors and other people in healthcare, nurses, techs, all these other professionals that are kind of like branched off of healthcare, but we oftentimes don't meet people like in tech or venture capital or like hedge funds or like all
Yeah.
these other fields. One thing I didn't realize, this just should have been top of mind for me right now, is that like you don't have to do the 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 job that your degree sets you up for, if that makes
Yes.
sense. Like
Yes.
I thought
100%.
like like I don't know if this makes any sense. Like if you're a CPA, right? Like I thought all CPAs were doing people's taxes. Like or that all lawyers were just like writing briefs for people, right? Like or like, legal, like or like doing like criminal law or like divorce court. Like I didn't realize that like CPAs were becoming like the chief financial officers of companies, or
Yeah.
that lawyers were like becoming CEOs of companies, and that like the legal background was actually like something that helped them get those other jobs in business. So it's just something to think about, like, think outside of the box when you're picking your career, because I mean, I think the doors are wide open and you can pave any path you want.
I think you're so right, especially in medicine, because you're always surrounded by, other doctors. I know in my circle, that's the case. And you've been on this 10-year cookie cutter plan. So that's a really hard thing to step outside of that box and venture out and do all these other things that may be health related, but not, seeing patients, all day, every day kind of thing.
Right.
So, because we do have a lot of young doctors and residents and so forth. And nowadays, social media is so important. Do you have any tips and tricks, like top 3 tips for somebody starting out on social media? Maybe they have a new practice and they're trying to, gather and create an audience. What are some tips that you can share that would help them sort of grow their communities like you have?
I think pick something that you're passionate about. I think the passion for what you do goes like follows through in your content. A lot of people get on social media to get on social media, right? Like
Yeah.
they're like, everyone's doing social media, so I should be doing social media, but like they hate social media. They're not a social media consumer themselves. And then they have like one of their staff members like shoot their videos for them and edit the videos and post them. And it doesn't resonate, I don't think, with audiences, because it's not coming from a place where you're like passionate about it. So but you may be passionate about like the way that diet affects your skin. So like make content about things that you're passionate about, right? I think 2 would be like define your goal. Like, what are you trying to accomplish on social media? Like, I think that having an approach where you know what the end result is a little bit better, right? Like my content is like meant for broad general audiences, right? So like anybody in any part of the world can watch my content and hopefully benefit from it. But my main objective is not to drive people into my office, right? So your main objective may be to drive people into the office. And if that's the case, then I think you should be making content that shows what you offer, your skills, and maybe less general advice or less skincare advice, and more like, this is the procedures that I perform. Kind of like the content that you do. Like, I think you show a lot of what you do befores and afters, laser procedures. So people know like, hey, I'm going to seek her out to have this procedure done. I think that content resonates better for people that are trying to bring people into the office. So define your goal. I think that's really important. It will help you create content around it. And then 3, I think if you're a professional, like you need to protect yourself, because your medical career is separate from what you do on social media. So forming an LLC separate for your social media, I think will be helpful to kind of just keep those 2 things separate, so that your medical career is not in jeopardy from what you do on social media.
Oh, that's a good point. I haven't thought about that or heard that at all. So that's a completely separate business. And I think that's one of the hard things as physicians, to go on there and, make a recommendation or advice. And I always wonder, or sometimes I don't even say like what it is I'm using. If I'm doing a special removal around the eyes using an acid, people ask me, what is the solution? What is the solution? I'm like, I'm not going to say what it is, because what if you go buy it on Amazon and start putting it on serogomas around your eyes? So I think it could be really tough giving out some of the advice, because you don't know what people are going to do with it.
That's true. That's why it's got to be as general as possible and not directed towards people, right? And you have to be, I think, careful of how you say things, because you're right. Like one example is like salicylic acid, right? If you say like use salicylic acid for your acne or for your pores or something like that, like we mean 2% salicylic acid, which is like the salicylic acid we use for like that's what's approved for acne, right? But there's also like salicylic acid for like wart removal, which is like a much
Mhm.
higher, like 30% you
Yeah.
buy like over the counter. So like people may misinterpret that, right? Because they don't know exactly like what you're talking about. So like you're right. You have no idea where people are going to take that information. So
Yeah.
trying to be like as careful with your words as possible, I think is really important.
And nowadays, I mean, you can find 30% TCA on Amazon and fillers on Amazon and just about anything. People have so much access to things that they have no idea, the harms of DIYs and doing things to themselves.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts now on TikTok? Because a lot has changed, right? So, when we talked a couple years ago, TikTok was sort of new, but now, Instagram is sort of trying to become like TikTok or competing with TikTok, and now YouTube with the shorts, is trying to become TikTok. What are your thoughts on these platforms? And do you think they're all sort of trying to be one another? And what do you see as the it platform?
That's a good question. I think it's all eyes on TikTok right now. It was
Mm.
interesting because it wasn't always like that, right? So, I think that's another thing is like no one can predict like which platforms are going to really take off and go the distance, right? Like TikTok has really exploded. I think that their algorithm is brilliant.
It
It's so,
is.
I mean, the biggest problem that people will tell you about TikTok is that it's so addicting that you can't like turn it off, right? And people get stuck in the TikTok hole for 2, 3 hours before finally being like, what am I doing with my life? Right. So like TikTok is just that good. And I think they are really honed into what people want to see. And that's actually where all the advertisers are right now too, right? Because they're actually finding that on Facebook because they can no longer target people as well, and on Instagram because they can't target as people as well with the iOS changes. That all the advertisers are now going to TikTok because they're getting the best return on their investment for advertising dollars. And so that's where all the eyes are on right now. So like I think if you're going to be creating for any platform right now, it would be TikTok. Instagram to me is like
What is going
about
on?
as dead as a platform can get, like before major changes are made. I think they're really trying to emulate TikTok, but it's clunky, it's messy, it's not what users want. They're not showing people's like photos in their feeds from their friends, and I mean, just constantly people are complaining, and I just don't think they figured out a way to. But there are benefits of Instagram too. Like they have so many features that are beneficial, like the link, like you can link directly to something. It's
Right.
super helpful. It's got the direct messaging is much easier than TikTok is. So it has so many things that are beneficial. I look at Instagram now as like more of like a business card. Like you can just like, hey, this is my Instagram and like this
Yeah.
is what I do. But I don't look at it as a platform for growth or reaching new audiences or bringing new people into your practice or anything like that. I think TikTok is really the major platform for reaching new people. And I actually think YouTube Shorts is doing a much better job than Instagram Reels is for create like for like being similar and feel so I think Instagram to me is I've really lost interest in Instagram content and I'm much more into TikTok and YouTube.
I see. Are you posting on TikTok stories? Have you seen that? Have you tested out that feature?
Yeah, it's basically like a TikTok that so it's not really like any different than like what we were doing before. So like basically a TikTok story is just a TikTok that lives for 24 hours. It shows up in feed the same way that a regular video would show up in feed. It goes to your audience the same way. People interact with it the same way. The only difference is it just goes away after 24 hours. So I'm not
So
like a huge fan of the feature. Are you? I don't know.
I've been kind of trying it out. I thought maybe if you post something and it's well received, then it might be something you would post, as a real post. But I don't know how that works because once you post something, if you repost it again, I don't know if it does as well. I'm actually not
Yeah,
sure.
I don't
It's so
know. I
new.
thought the same thing. I posted a video on stories because I thought it felt more like a story to me because it wasn't like my normal content, but then it did really well. Like got like a million views in 24 hours. So I was like, wow, this should have been a TikTok, like a real
Yeah, right.
TikTok. And then I was like, well, I can't repost it because the problem is you're right. Like the way
So
the
many
TikTok
people have seen it
algorithm
already. Yeah.
Right. Like the way the TikTok algorithm works, I think, is a lot of times on the watch time and like if somebody already saw the video before, they're not going to watch it again. And
Right.
so like it would just kill the engagement, right? So like
Yeah.
I think that yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to utilize stories yet. I think if they figure out a way to like link out on stories the way they do on
Yes.
Instagram, that's going to be a lethal
Yeah,
feature.
yeah, yeah. They should. And that'll be a game changer, really. They should start copying some of the features from Instagram that are good. And then they'll be like even more explosive. So I've been getting a lot of videos that have been getting blacked out, like for no really good reason, things that I used to post all the time in the past. Is that something that you've seen? I feel like TikTok is becoming more restrictive, at least on the bigger creators, maybe.
Yeah, no, they're definitely becoming more restrictive. When we first started TikTok, like you could post anything, it would never it would never get
Never
it was
get
like the
taken.
wild west, like I saw some wild stuff on TikTok when I first started being a TikTok consumer, like awful things, right? Like murders, like it's bad, like
Oh, I didn't
like
see
but
that. Wow.
so no, it's like a really is so they really needed to definitely tighten up some of their controls, but now like it's affecting like educational content. Like it doesn't really make sense because like the original video will be like deleted
Fine.
or
Yeah.
will be fine. Sorry, like the original video, and then I'm educating on the video saying like
You're
don't do
commenting
this.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like they censor my video, but they don't censor the original video. So they're like whatever algorithm they're using to try to censor content is not really working that well right now. And it's really frustrating, right? Because like you
Yeah, it
put a lot of time
is.
into content and it's educational and you put the captions on it and you do all the stuff and then like it gets censored after 30 minutes and you're like, well, now the video's dead and like it's never going to reach my intended audience. And so it's a little bit frustrating. And I used to be able to get that lifted, honestly. Like I had like a TikTok manager who would then go back and uncensor the videos, and now they stopped. So
Yeah, they
now I
have.
have like a bunch of censored things on my feed, and they have like a new management program that is not lifting the censors. So I don't know. It's really super frustrating, and I think it actually is forcing me to change the way I make content.
Yeah, I agree. Same. So do you just delete the blackout ones, right? When they get censored like that? Because there's no point in keeping it up, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I kept some of them up because yeah, but they already had like millions of views, which is interesting because like one video like it still got like people were still clicking through the censor, which is shocking to me like cuz I would think that that would really kill it, but so some of them still did really well. I just really don't like the way it makes my page look.
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah,
like
yeah,
all these like censored videos on your page. So like I thought about deleting it for that reason, but the engagement was still okay.
yeah. So last question about platforms. I saw that you posted on you're on Be Real, right? That's a new thing. So I saw that and I went to I have a teenage daughter and I was like, so what do you think about this Be Real app? And she's like, Mom, you are not allowed to get on there. It is for 13-year-olds. You cannot get on that app. And she was so mortified that I was thinking of getting on it. But what is it? I saw that you're on it.
So, so TikTok once upon a time was an app for 13
That's
year
right.
olds,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
We're always looking for that next like new generation platform.
yeah, I don't know. I was at a CeraVe event in New York City, and one of the people there convinced me to get on Be Real. So I downloaded the app and I started posting on it. So basically what it is like you have to take a photo once a day with a time. So they give you a timer, it's like 2 minutes, and you get an alert from the app, and it's like post a photo now, you have 2 minutes to post a photo. So basically, they want you to do is take these like unedited organic photos of like what you're doing during that day and like just to capture a moment in time, right? And so like it's supposed to be like a very organic, very authentic, and I don't know if I like it yet, but I'm like kind of playing around with it. You only post one photo a day, so it's not like a big time commitment. You have 2 minutes to post it, so there's no time to like mess around. So like
Yeah.
yesterday I just took a photo of my wife and I eating dinner.
Uh-huh.
That's really all like we had time to do. So it's just an interesting new platform. I think people are I don't know how long it will last, honestly.
You never know. And like you said, I always look to the next generation to figure out what is capturing that generation because every generation is different. And you could see millennial versus Gen Z versus, you know, my generation versus your generation. So it's good to sort of try to figure out what's up and coming and always look to the younger population for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they have all the ideas, and so we have to lean on them for inspiration, right? Like, I think we get stuck in our ways and we don't want to learn new things, and so like definitely leaning on the younger generation is. I feel like when I was younger, I had all these like brilliant ideas about like businesses I would start or inventions I would create, but
Uh,
I didn't have the capital or the means to make them happen, right? And now that I have the means to make things happen, I don't have any good ideas. So like I feel
no,
like the
I
younger
doubt that.
generation always has better ideas than the older generations.
Yeah. All right. So you were on the podcast 2 years ago. We're going to wrap up with some rapid fire questions and see if your answers have stayed the same. Because, 2 years later, here you are, bigger and better than ever. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions and you just can answer quickly. So go to Starbucks, you order.
Oh, okay. So probably I said before I was not a big Starbucks guy. I like Dunkin'. Lately, I've found that the Starbucks like light roast, so the caramel latte with like the blonde, it's called
Uh-huh.
blonde because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
lighter roast. That one's pretty good. So caramel latte, and I've actually liked the new pink drink with the strawberries in it.
Oh,
That one's pretty
nice.
good.
Favorite procedure to do?
I still think big surgeries on the face. Like I like doing flaps, grafts. Those are really a lot of fun for me. Lasers. I think I wasn't doing a lot of lasers before, but lasers are a ton of fun, and being able to play with those devices are a lot of fun, and being able to see the results that come with them are really satisfying.
Best vacation spot?
I think Morocco before. I still think Morocco is like an amazing place to visit. I went to Dubai recently, and I could live there. I could definitely live there.
I could see you there. I could see you there. Guiltiest pleasure?
Food. I'm like a big foodie. I'll never stop
Are you still
eating
cooking?
food.
Because last time we talked, you said you loved cooking.
I don't cook at all anymore. Like I just haven't found any. I don't think we've used the kitchen or the stove in our house yet. But like I still like love eating out, and I just haven't had time to cook. So I definitely want to get back in that because it's way healthier. But not doing a lot of cooking right now.
Favorite fashion designer?
Like I said, I was like, big into fashion. I still think like for shoes and stuff, like Ferragamo for like leather. I think that's what I said last time. I can't remember. But I like Ferragamo.
You guys have to go back and listen to the first episode and see if the answer is the same. Do you have a hidden talent?
No talents.
No
Still no
talent. Oh, come
talents at
on.
all. Yeah, no
Creating
talents.
content, I would say you were meant to do what you're doing. So,
I guess content creation. But
but
otherwise,
that's not a
like
hidden talent, I guess.
no, yeah, no. Otherwise, nothing at all.
Cocktail of choice.
Still don't drink, so no cocktail of choice.
All right. Well, this was fun. It was so fun to catch up. I can't wait to hear about what you are up to, about your future projects. Are you going to any meetings coming up?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because we had talked about the hype house last time, right?
Yes. Oh
Like
my gosh, that would be so fun.
when are we all gonna be in the same place? I'm going to probably in the immediate future ASDS and fall clinical.
Let's plan that. ASDS will be good. We should do a hype house there. That would be
Okay,
fun.
that'd be
We'll
good. So
touch
you're gonna go to
base. I
ASDS?
am. I'm going to go to ASDS and we should touch base with some of the other creators. And yeah, it'll be fun to create some content there.
That'd be
I
awesome.
miss the
Yeah.
AAD, but I saw you guys. I was having major FOMO seeing you guys.
Yeah, I feel like you're probably one of the few I have not met yet now.
Yes,
Cause
I
like at the
know.
conferences I've been running into people and at different events I've been running into people. So yeah, long overdue. ASDS, I think you should come to Fall Clinical. Fall Clinical's in
That's
Vegas.
in Vegas, right? When is that?
Same month as ASDS. I think it's I want to say October, late in October.
Okay. All right, I'll think about that because Vegas is close to me, and yeah, that'll be fun. Well, I'll let you know. We'll meet up.
All right, that sounds good. All right,
All right,
well, I'll
thank you
see you.
so much for joining. And lastly, you guys can find him all over the platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Right. So tell us your handles, just in case.
So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So YouTube is Dr. Lee, Instagram is Dr. Lee, and then TikTok is Derm Doctor.
And then what's your new practice website or name?
So right now it's still PC Dermatology, but it will be soon rebranded to Fora Dermatology, FORA, and we're based out of the Charlotte area of North Carolina.
All right. Well, thanks for joining in. I'll see you hopefully coming up in a couple of months.
All right, and we'll check in maybe in another 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's right. We'll just watch you grow and do all these amazing things.
All right, thanks, Dr. Ozzy.
Thank you.